G'day, I'm Philip Duncan from Weather Watch with your special 7-day Australia-only forecast. And we're tracking quite a lot at the moment. We've got a fair amount of high pressure with some really big temperature changes coming in, but we've also got a low pressure zone next week in the southeastern corner of Australia, and that's going to affect South Australia, Victoria, and Tasmania the most, but it will actually impact a number of places in the southeast next week. But for now, high pressure parked over Adelaide. The temperature map today shows plenty of places in the orange and red, which is showing highs up into the late 20s into the 30s. So it's a pretty warm Thursday around many parts of Australia, but a little cooler in the south and the southeast here. Airflows coming off the sea and inland. That's why your temperatures aren't quite so high, sort of from Sydney southwards. And down here in Tasmania, you can see that line split in half. There's a reason why most of you live on the eastern side. That's where it's a little bit warmer today and a little more sheltered. So temperature-wise, that heat is spreading. This is the departure from normal for today and tomorrow. The shading you see here, more than 8 degrees above normal for what you would normally get at this time of the year, and a little cooler here in the east. Look at tomorrow though, that heat expands as that high pressure zone tracks eastwards and those hot northerly winds start to spread further around. And you can see it here on Friday. The high moves out to the east and those hot winds, they start to slide further down towards the main centres. So on Friday, probably the biggest headline, I think Canberra, your overnight low is just 5 degrees, which is a low temperature considering your daytime high on Sunday is going to be 29. So you're in that sort of cold nights, hot days time of year. Some people might love that, good for sleeping. Other headlines, probably Tasmania with the wet and windy weather right down here on the screen. Most of the rain on that western side, but the eastern side looking fairly dry, and maybe an isolated shower just north of Brisbane and maybe around Cairns. Otherwise, it is looking fairly dry right along the eastern coastline. And it stays that way as we go into Saturday, thanks to the big block of high pressure. The headlines on Saturday, Melbourne getting up to 28 degrees. Adelaide, you're going to be near 30 degrees. And my favourite Australian place name, Tiddy Widdy, up here, the beach, you'll be around about 30 degrees on Saturday. So that's that warm airflow coming out from the north. Other interesting fact probably is Brisbane. You're about to start a very sunny 4 days of weather, probably the sunniest in Australia for Brisbane, and that starts for you here on Saturday. So moving through to Sunday, as I said, Canberra getting up to 30 degrees as that hot nor'wester or westerly starts to kick in. And that means, of course, western parts of Sydney will be up around 35, 36, maybe even 37 degrees on Sunday. So it's going to be a hot day for you. Adelaide, you've got a temperature drop. Up comes that southerly. 19 is your high on Sunday, and more wet weather passing through Tasmania, mostly on the west coast. Let's kick off next week. We've got a couple of showers up here to the north around Cairns. Otherwise, mostly dry along the eastern side. The main feature, a stormy system down here in the Southern Ocean. Up comes the next front going right up to Geraldton. Probably fades out though north of there, and plenty of windy, showery weather from Perth to Albany. The other headlines on Monday, Alice Springs. See the red line? That indicates the tropical heat dropping southwards. Alice Springs, your high on Monday is getting close to 40 degrees. So hot weather, and of course that heat spreads out. That's why we're seeing other places into the high temperatures. Perth, interesting note on Perth, 17 degrees your high here on Monday, but 27 today. So a much cooler start to next week. And Adelaide, you're also very hot, 28 degrees or so for you. So as we go through to Tuesday, that's when this cooler change arrives in southern states, because we've got low pressure forming and cooler airflows coming in. So the red line, which shows hot air from the tropics coming down, there's that blue line with the cold air coming in. So very spring-like to see a fine line between those two systems. So there'll be a few thunderstorms in between and a temperature drop coming through for you on Tuesday. And basically, this begins a colder change for Adelaide. Southerlies coming through for you, a much colder week for you on the way. And that low pressure zone means rain moving in. That's good news for the farmers who really do want some rain to come through about now. It'll get up just north of Broken Hill, but it doesn't really go a lot further up towards, say, Queensland or even inland parts of northern New South Wales, but you may still get a few thunderstorms in the mix as that comes on through, and northerlies coming in there for Tasmania. So that is the 7-day forecast across Australia. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back again next Thursday. And of course, tomorrow Friday, we'll be back with our usual New Zealand Australia forecast, but also our next Climate Watch update. That's our monthly outlook to see what is going on with our temperatures. We'll be taking a look at October and of course rainfall now that El Nino's here. So a closer look at that for the rest of this year. That's in our Climate Watch update out on Friday. But that's all from me for today. We'll see you later on.